This is a short presentation on the subject of cognition. Basic idea is that language is a window to the mind, or the working of the mind. If you open a dictionary, or the Oxford Dictionary, for example, you find that words are then defined by using other words. They're linked to one another. And in this sense, meaning of a word is defined by its linking to other words. And this is perhaps the main idea of defining meaning. Or if we go on, we could define a simple language which in this case, for the simplification, just has as object a predicate or predicate verb or a subject. Typical predicates could be is, has, and does. Is indicates that the object belongs to a category. We'll have a look in a moment what this means. Has means the object has a certain property, its color, how big it is, where it is. And does tells us what this object does. We'll also look into this in detail. So we'll first look at is. Sorry, has. Has basically allows objects to be categorized and usually means that they have common properties. There are some commonalities between the objects that belong to a category. And this has the information positive effect that the information over the properties of an object, when it's set in a category, that this information can disseminated to other objects of the same category. So we'll have a look at act. Act causes changes in the environment of an agent. One must be aware, though, that the change doesn't occur within an agent, but it changes in the environment. The agent does something, and there must be a mechanism in the environment which is activated through the action and makes this change of the environment. So one has to be clear about this. Let's have a look at the environment then. We say here the environment can only have three types of objects. There are things. Things have characteristics. There are beings. They have characteristics obviously too, and they can also do actions, but they can also reproduce. And as third, machines. Of course, characteristics, they can do actions, but they can't reproduce. So this is just formal, just thinking about what is the environment. Let's have a look at the agent. What can an agent do then? An agent can answer questions. So you can pose a question to an agent and it answers it. Or when it finds in its mechanism itself that it's missing information, it can pose questions to the environment. It can give commands. This could be also get me current, get me food, and it takes commands, and lastly it performs actions. There's a lot of subject over the years about consciousness, and perhaps the question is not what it is, but what it does. And I would claim here that consciousness has simply the function to hold information from past events. And this is necessary when the environment is changing and certain information has to be retained for doing further processing. We look at context. This is also a subject which often causes some confusion. Context is given by the temporal memory of the input. That means the context actually is always given while you're talking about money and talk about a bank. This is the sort of classical case of misunderstanding. You know you're talking about a bank in a town where you get your money and not about a bank of a river. If you've been wandering along the river and you talk about a bank, then the temporal connection is with the river, of course, and not with a financial institution. And I think this is not something very secret. This just means that how the things are stored in the memory of an agent in the sequence, chronological sequence, determines the context. This last point is about dialogue. Dialogue is a way of social coordination amongst agents, and only secondly for information dissemination. This is obviously, if you look at animals or look at humans, they're mostly talking to each other about coordination. What are you doing? Where are you going? How are you? And only secondly is information being exchanged. Oh, that boy has a bag with him or whatever. So this is, I think, also an important point. And one of the main problems with many chat bots is that they don't take this into account. That actually and makes it unwieldy conversations. Is its point of coordination is often missing. Well, I hope this has been interesting, and maybe you have some ideas on the subject too.